Welcome, listeners. Today I'll be narrating a short story titled Resolution, a tale that weaves together the strands of introspection, mystery, and the eerie quiet of a desolate beach. Let's embark on this journey and unravel the story of Sarah, set in a world both familiar and unsettling. Here begins Resolution. A few days had passed since the new year, and days were gradually yielding yet more daylight. Still, it was around 4ish, and the clear daylight was bruising into gloomy dusk. Sarah had loved this place. She still did, in spite of everything. The freedom of the sea and the beach that, depending on the time of day, could be submerged under tides or stretch miles into the distance. It was captivating. Now the retreating ocean left the sand, never quite dry, imprinted with sets of footprints. Some were freshly made, while countless others had been washed away, never to be remade. So she sat down on the sand, in the cold, as she waited and watched, as often happened on that remote southwest coast in a part of the world that longed to be free. The rain came. It did not happen slowly, it just came. Had she been somewhere else, in a less reflective mood, she might even have turned her head to the heavens, commented to someone, made a mood to leave. Sarah did not even notice the beads of cold drip from the ends of her short hair, down both face and neck. Her brain went through the changes that she could make, needed to make, to just get through the next year and, hopefully, the contravening years. They would stack and fall regardless of how she navigated them. "Oh God!" she murmured in hushed tones, glancing down as she noticed it, the bird. Sarah jerked, suddenly expecting the flapping wings thudding air and pushing the thing away from her face. Nothing happened. The adrenaline seeded, leaching into tissues and being broken down. It didn't move. Runnels of seawater meandered around it. The flapping would not start again. Things had already begun to remove gobbets of flesh and sinew. One wing had no feathers, just the illusion of traced bone, a skeletal reminder of life. For an instant she had the impulse to bend her neck and sink her own teeth into it. Bile rose in her throat the second after. There was something that she needed to do. Sarah looked round and saw the ghost of another figure muddled in the distance. The wind and rain and sand blurred the outline, making it look like a drunken shadow. At this distance it was hard to tell in what direction it was headed. Sarah's solitude was broken. She massaged a wrist that was bandaged badly. Well, it was her dominant hand that was affected, of course. Something had seeped through, but it didn't hurt now. It was just uncomfortable. The rain continued. Right, no more booze, she thought, as she checked off things in her head that she was determined to complete for her resolution. That had been easy enough to come to. Groggy first thing New Year's Day. Sarah and Terry had gotten into a huge fight during the night. It had come to a physical confrontation. The next morning she had awoken on the sofa, and he had locked himself up in the bedroom, was still growling and moaning about something she could not work out. This was the man she had married. She had never seen this side of him. Absently, she scratched her wrist. She heard the ebb and flow of the sea's tide. It was calling her to calm down. No more waiting. She would get into a morning routine, get fit for the summer, be resilient to Terry. Shit, let him know she was her own person. She would not put up with this, ever again. A noise snapped her into the present. The figure had changed course. Then wind swept behind her, sending particles of sand racing towards the beachgoer. It was just her and it. It was closing, slowly. Fuck off, she whispered under her breath. The last thing she needed was this thing shambling up to her, talking to her. She wanted some isolation, some time to think. She thought back to her resolution. Yeah, actually, she would show Terry what she thought about all his shit. The fact he laid hands on her. Sarah noticed the streetlights in the car park. It distracted her. She headed towards it. Sarah turned fully, felt motivated, and clambered over the rocks that were the sea defences. She would breach them, show her power, though she was far more doddery on the way up than down had been some hours previously. She was hungry now. But first things first. It was almost fully dark now. It was only a short walk to the holiday place. The one that was her parents', the one that they stayed at. A small grey road surrounded by heather and bracken that hid rabbits. Often these would wait and watch you, noses twitching. You could get close enough to touch them. It was endearing. Today, once she had crested the hill, they scattered, fleeing into warrens like silent wisps of grey smoke. That was a shame. Sarah wished one would come just close enough too. Sarah fixed on the house. It was tiring this, and she slowed. She let out a gentle moan. She continued to shuffle up to the house. One more job before she woke. Her wrist felt warm now, warm where the teeth had punctured the skin. Now it was completely dark. Sarah was glad she had left the door unlocked, so there was no need to worry about keys. She was not sure she had them anyway. Inside, Terry was still in the one bedroom, groaning, stumbling about. He couldn't be drunk still, not after how many days exactly. Sarah then remembered why she had gone to the beach, fleeing to get away from him, from the aggression. Something was wrong. The smell from that room, the noises. She was cold now, very cold. Fire. The fireplace. With shaky hand, she put fuel into the hearth and lit it. Hungry now as well, very hungry. Her eyes were closing. The noise from the room didn't bother her. His regular moaning was reminiscent of the sea's waves. She lay down and closed her eyes, breathing slowly. If you had been there and watched carefully, you might have thought it had stopped altogether. But that couldn't be right. Sarah was starting to sit up. Thank you for joining me in this journey through resolution. If you think you know what happened to Sarah, why not leave those ideas in the comments below? For more stories and narrations, don't forget to subscribe. I look forward to seeing you all again soon.